Mr. Apple, has the next witness arrived?
Downstairs at the bar.
Please tell him to arise and attend.
With your permission, Judge, Mr. Apple, if Peake is armed, please quit him of it.
He's carrying a Colt.
Major Pritchard, how long do you expect to take with Peake?
About an hour.
All right, I want to get this over with before it gets any hotter. If this third witness hasn't showed up, what's his name? Ranger Bruton. Then let's have a dinner while we wait on him. What do you say, miss? Shall the three of us go downstairs for dinner?
Fine with me, sir. I'll be ready for a recess.
Judge, even if Bruton doesn't show up, I think you can make a decision. I know he's on the road coming here, but something must have held up his progress. Bruton is not reluctant to testify. I have notes from my conversations with him from last summer, and you could swear me in and I'll testify from my notes if need be.
Good morning, Mr. Peake. I'm Judge Sutton, and this is Major Pritchard.
I assume you have no other pistol on you, sir.
Judge, just a minute, sir. I assume that as a Texas Ranger, you are still under oath.
I'll tell the truth, but I want to know what it was that Marta said. I have a right to set it straight.
No, sir. Proceed, Major.
Mr. Peake.
Most men call me Captain Peake.
Captain Peake. I believe you were in the war under several commands and were wounded severely. One of those commands was General John Wharton's 8th Texas Cavalry. You were a scout.
When the war ended, I was in Texas.
In Dallas, you were a deputy sheriff and joined the Klan. About 1872, you were hired by New Mexico cattle associations to end raids on cow herds and outright theft.
Yeah, you have it right. Then I was elected city marshal of Dallas, and about 4 years of that, and Governor Coe gave me a commission in Company B, and we tracked down Sam Bass and killed him.
Sorry, Judge, I forgot to ask, Captain Peake, for the record, where do you now live and what is your occupation?
Junius Peake, Dallas, Texas. I'm a real estate man. Why is all this history important, Pritchard?
I believe you know, sir.
Get on with it.
Your background, sir, may tell us something about your actions concerning the events of June and July 1879. I believe you are a fellow Mason.
Get on with it. I need to be in Big Spring. I got a train to board.
It is not my intention to waste your time. Captain Peake, less than a year after the Anglin killing, you left the Rangers and moved to Mexico to work on building Mexican Central Railroad. Can I assume you were a boss of some kind, maybe supervising construction?
Boston owners didn't need any American-style strikes down here in old Mexico.
Corporal Douglas was in charge of the Ranger Patrol when Private Anglin was killed. He now lives in Old Mexico, so could not or would not come for this hearing, but if we go forward to get a lawsuit, I will do my best to get his testimony. When in Mexico, did you ever see Douglas?
Had no use for him after he was fired. Never saw him again, although I was told that to be on the lookout. I reckon he's still gunning for me.
Since Douglas is not at hand, your official Ranger reports and descriptions of the events are most important.
I wrote it all with great care.
Great care in writing reports and in your subsequent published lectures. You have stated that Captain Nolan of Fort Sill was responsible for escorting the Indians away from Fort Sill on a buffalo hunt, and that he left them on the staked plains with orders to return to the reservation later. These Indians, you say, were led by Black Horse, who you call Old Nigger Horse, and were those who raided the Holland Ranch near here. How did you know this? Was Captain Dolan considered an enemy of the Rangers, and so you opined that he was culpable?
Nolan was an ass. It was old nigger horse, all right.
You state Captain Nolan will represent that these Indians were unnecessarily attacked. Why do you think that to be so? Were the Indians unnecessarily attacked? Captain Peake, were your men under orders or an understanding that all Indians were fair game for killing?
No,
In your report on July 5th, you state that 15 Indians initially were encountered by 7 Rangers and 2 citizens. During the course of 2 days, the number of Indians dwindled. You state that there were 4 or 5 Indians who killed private angling. Could the number have been only 2 Indians?
no,
Judge, this is my exhibit. What? Exhibit 6, the so-called long tom needle gun.
Proceed, sir.
Captain Peake, you assert that the Indians were well equipped with ammunition and fearsome long tom needle guns. Please explain how an old single-shot weapon, even after being modified to fire cartridges, could have been fearsome compared to the Rangers' repeating rifles and Colts.
my opinion stands.
I'm losing track. I'm losing track of which number this document is. 7, I believe.
Captain Peake, you state that in driving them out of the country, I have fought them 3 times. Every time my men could find them. Fought them fearlessly and boldly in the places of their own choosing, in their strongholds. In view of the actions and the retreat of Corporal Douglas and others at the time of the death of Private Anglin, please explain this statement. You reported their actions as cowardly.
Douglas failed to get the Indians, and worse, lost a man angling.
5 Rangers were also discharged at their own request after you reduced their pay as a fine for cowardly behavior at the Anglin killing situation. Ebb D., R.K. North, C.E. Robinson, G.M. Wright, C.P. Kennebrew, including Anglin and Douglas, that would amount to a total of 7 Rangers, the number that you reported fighting the Indians on the 30th. But we know from your report that there were other Rangers, namely Patty, Bruton, Manning, Gibson. Were there in fact more than 7 Rangers at the battle? None of the last 4 Rangers were discharged. Please explain the difference in their performance and the actions of the others.
I talked to them all, and they, the cowards, deserved what they got. Sure, I may not have gotten the numbers straight all the time. That was 10 years ago. What the hell does it matter?
Ranger Corporal Douglas is reported to have taken 8 Indian horses with saddles and bridles at their first fight. If there were 15 Indians originally on 15 horses, then the Rangers would have pursued 15 Indians on only 7 horses and only 2 pack mules. The Indians would be traveling slowly. Why was this not mentioned in your report? You also report in the monthly return that on June 29th, the Rangers found the trail of 8 horses and that the first fight, all 8 horses were captured. This loss would leave the Indians, perhaps 15 of them, with only 2 mules for mounts. Can you explain this odd accounting? On 3 July, when you rode out to meet Douglas, had someone notified you of the disaster and Anglin's death? Did one of the Rangers have time to leave the battle site on 1 July and get all the way to Fort Concho on the 2nd so that you could be on your way on the 3rd? The reporter will note that there is no response from the witness.
So do then, Miss.